MyMac Podcast 858. So what's left?
Hi everyone and welcome to this week's mighty MyMac Podcast. Well, with autumn just around the corner, a lot of people beginning to focus on new iPhones. However, with a transition away from Intel for the Macs, it has been a very chaotic kind of year, not even including a global pandemic. Global pandemic? Nah. The M1 Macs have been pretty good, but there's lots of room for improvement with the Macs that haven't gotten out of the labs yet. And I think we might be talking to a certain Mr. Guy Searle about that a little bit later. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, Guy. How are you after our week off?
Well, I would say tan, rested, and ready, but none of those things are true.
I'm tan.
Well, yeah, I haven't been outside much. And there hasn't been, there's been like record-breaking heat here in the U.S. So, and even here in the Northern Virginia area, even where it hasn't been as bad, they've been saying, oh, the air quality is at, UVA, blah. They throw out all these like numbers at you. Like you're supposed to understand. The average person is supposed to understand what any of those things mean. And I just sit there and go, huh? And you have to turn your head like a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
In order to convey the amount of confusion that's going on.
No fooling.
Yeah, exactly. But the main reason why I haven't spent much time outside other than going to work is because of that big new purchase that I made about 2 weeks ago.
What purchase is that you're talking about? I don't remember. Is it a new Mac that you've bought? Or is it a new Apple device that you bought? Is it a new microphone?
No.
Which microphone? Which microphone are you using today?
Oh, it's the same one I've been using for the last couple of weeks.
Oh, the Shure SMB7 or SM7B.
SM7B.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if it's not a Mac and if it's not a microphone, then it must be a cat. You bought a new cat.
I did buy it. No, I did not buy a new cat.
Oh, okay.
We don't buy cats.
I've got no idea what it is that you've bought.
We have cats thrust upon us.
I don't want to know about your problems.
Yeah. Well, when I bought a new desk to replace the pressed wood monstrosity that I
it's not the new ears that you've bought then.
No, those are not ears.
Oh, they're not
actually. This is those aren't.
Yeah.
This is actually, I think, the first time in MyMac podcasting history that anyone has seen what's on the wall behind me. Everything is, for years and years, it was always the curtain that's now over here that had all the cat fur on it from the cat continuously going up there.
Nice.
So I have a new desk. It's a huge desk. It's like 72 inches across. I do have new JBL Mark II studio monitors that I will be using to edit the podcast from now on. But everything here is different. I've got, all the equipment is the same, but the way that it's laid out is now very, very different. As a matter of fact, I have a neighbor of mine who is he's an audio engineer with NPR, and he's going to come over in about 2 hours to give me a hand to look at it and critique it and say, you fool, you should have done it like this. So we'll see how well that goes.
Let's hope he simplifies it for my sake.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. Even if he could. See, this is a conversation we started before we actually started recording, and it got put off. So thank you, guys, for remembering this part of the conversation, because I would have forgotten. Even if he could simplify it, and let's face it, I do have, like you, USB. As a matter of fact, I have the exact same USB mic that you do, that could make my life incredibly easy. But where's the fun in that?
Where's the fun in that for me?
Yeah, I've got to have something to complain about, or I'm
don't even think about it.
just not a happy camper.
No.
So we didn't record a show last week.
No, you didn't,
Partly
did you?
Because of no, we didn't. Well, partly because of basically that entire weekend, last weekend, this whole room was, I was going to say in chaos, but that's
no change there.
Yeah, no real change there. But all of the stuff that was in the middle of the room was spread out all over the rest of the room, and it was only last Tuesday or Wednesday that I was able to start putting the gear in and routing the cables, and it's still a mess, but it's getting there. It is getting there. Now, but part of the reason why we didn't record last week was that you were also away. You were watching cars make left-hand turns. It was like NASCAR, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I've only used my MyMac a little bit after coming back from Silverstone to watch the British Grand Prix. And for all those wondering, because there's going to be a number of F1 fans out there, I would expect. I'm not going to go any further other than the statement I'm going to make now, Guy. It was a racing incident. Charles Leclerc, a top driver who was 10 meters behind, said so. Christian Horner, you're a moaning git. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. All right?
Well, when he hears this podcast, he's going to be very upset with you.
He is.
Because we know he listens.
He was very upset. Okay, so I jump into the Ordnance Survey and how it all began.
No, we can't use that.
No,
we can't use that for the. We need to have something for something.
We need
else
something else. Yeah, we need something else. Yeah, we need to be a lot more
zippy
for something like that.
Well, either that, or by the time we figure out what we want to use,
it'll be over.
You'll be done with the history of the Ordnance Survey.
Well, previously I spoke about the Ordnance Survey maps becoming more commercial and the move to Southampton after a fire or fur, as spell check has actually corrected it to in pages in their current.
It's very warm.
Yeah, so they moved to Southampton after a fire in their current or their previous headquarters at the Tower of London. The next few weeks, I'm going to cover the period between 1855 to about 1935. So, amid reform, the Victorians had a real need for accurate mapping. And after years of disagreements, Guy, several different scales of maps were agreed, including 6 inches to the mile for mountain and moorland, 25 inches to the mile for rural areas, right up to a 10.5 feet to the mile for built-up areas. Zincography, that word, using zinc sheets began to replace lithography. Lithography, that word.
Using lithography as compared to xenography.
Using stone. So lithography was using stone. Someone please call us on the number we'll give you later and correct my pronunciation.
Wait a sec. So when the fire happened, they didn't have to worry about losing the maps because they were literally in
stone.
Okay.
So they replaced that as a method of printing. With copper plate engraving still used for the 1-inch maps. Photography was introduced to the map making process in 1855 by Sir Henry James. He was probably Ordnance Survey's most egotistical director general, but he realized how maps could be cheaply and quickly enlarged or reduced using this new science. Ooh. He used an elaborate glasshouse to develop prints using sunlight. He later claimed to have invented photozincography. That word. Yeah. A photographic method of producing printing plates, although it had been developed by 2 of his staff. So he's a naughty boy. James welcomed international interest and made all inventions, mathematical tables, and scientific data openly available, even publishing a book on the subject. And then next week, we might get into color map printing, Guy. So,
well, I only have one thing to say.
Go on.
That Christian Horner and Sir Henry James are both moaning gits. There. Dun-dun-dun.
I think that was a bit excessive. Anyway, we're now going to get into Gaz's snippets. Finally. Apparently, Apple's market value has neared 2.5 trillion as analysts turn bullish on their earnings. There's a surprise.
Mm.
Apple's iPhone 12 MagSafe battery pack versus alternative from Anker and Mophie. The reason I put this in is
Go ahead.
because they are still producing these damn battery packs for the phones. Apple, make it a bit thicker with a bigger battery.
What? No. See, this way you can have some great big battery pack in your pocket to slap on and have it stick as you drive around. I actually saw one of these on
I've got to say, Guy, actually, my phone, I'm starting to use it because I'm now not working on a regular basis at all. I'm kind of using my phone all through the day. And I must admit, towards the end of the day, I'm getting batteryitis in terms of, I need to recharge. So, yeah, they do. And I don't use it heavily for video or anything like that. So I do get, there are days when I'm quite surprised just how low the battery is.
Well,
okay.
When you do those walks or bike runs, are you using that for like GPS, or do you know where you're going?
No, on those days I can expect, a little bit of a drop off in performance. I understand that, but it's when I'm not using the phone for anything like that I get a bit, yeah, I am being fairly reasonable, I'm not, as big a moaning git as other people.
Yeah, like,
No, enough said. Apple are cautious about proposal for streaming music services to pay artists at 50%.
Of what?
Well, there's a. What do you mean of what?
Well, I mean,
the current payment to them is around 16%. But apparently this is from the British government, have proposed a complete reset of the business model for streaming music so that artists and writers are better compensated. However, Apple are cautious about those proposals.
And at the same time, these artists typically don't own the rights to their own music. So it would just go right back to the publishers and copyright.
Stop making it complicated.
It is complicated. That's the problem. Well, that's why they're cautious.
That's absolutely. Apple TV Plus signs a deal with Hyper Object Industry, followed by the 2021 TCA Award nominations. As Apple continues to invest in original Apple TV catalog, the company today announced, this was last week, a deal with Hyper Object Industries, a film production company created by Academy Award winner and director Adam McRae.
Oh, yeah, him.
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, me too.
Tim Cook has attended a private screening of Ted Lasso season 2 ahead of the premiere, which I have seen.
Yes,
no spoilers.
I've seen it too.
No spoilers.
However, I put this into the same category as billionaires going into space. How dare Tim Cook watch Ted Lasso before anybody else can?
Well,
how dare he?
They had to show him because of the Greyhound. I'm saying no more.
Football is life.
I'm saying no more.
Except when it's not.
Can you stop, please?
I'm not saying anything else.
Well, please. Apple's inflexibility on flexible working seems to be likely to backfire. More later. Apple Watch and health exec Kevin Lynch is joining the Apple Car team.
Because those are so related.
Perhaps a little bit more later on that. Not on that particular subject, but the car in general. Tim Cook says Apple will donate to support the flood relief efforts in Western Europe. Now, you were talking about the heat that you're getting. Yeah. Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Belgium, parts of France, I think, have had some massive floods in the last few weeks. It's just been horrendous, the amount of flooding they've got. So,
haven't they had lots of big storms though too?
Well, yeah, but it's unprecedented. They don't normally get those sorts of floods and those sorts of storms this time of year. It is supposed to be summer over here, Apple has released Watch OS 7.6, bringing ECG and irregular heart rhythm notifications to 30. Read it, 30 new regions. Wow. Do you remember that actually when it was a big news when they just release it to another country and maybe another country, and now it's 30 new regions all of a sudden.
Well, a lot of times it's up to the countries that they want to make it enabled in, and not up to Apple.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know that
they have a say in that.
I know that, but the point I'm making is it used to be a country here and a country there, but now, bang, they're all just saying, "Oh, forever." They're all just saying, "Oh, for heaven's sake, just get on with it, just do it." Apple has released HomePod. Have I jumped? Yes, Apple has released iOS 14.7 with MagSafe battery support and Apple Card family credit limit. Combining, so it's combining those limits. I didn't use that, so I don't care. Apple has released HomePod 14.7 software with support for managing timers from the Home app.
Yeah, apparently this caused people.
I'm surprised that wasn't already there, to be honest with you. Well, can you tell me, because I haven't really been around listening to this news.
It basically the problem.
It bricked
updating
Did it brick the actual device? Didn't it?
Some of them, yeah. Along with, the bricking of Wi-Fi if you had a particularly weird.
They needed to fix that with the
they did with
the @P. Yeah, they didn't fix it completely, did they? They didn't fix it completely. They partially fixed it. Oh, come on, Apple, pull your finger out. Apple employees continue to fight the return to campuses and push for better remote working options. It's not over yet. Apple has released Safari 14.1.2 update for Mac OS Catalina and Mac OS Mojave. Apple will delay bringing employees back to offices until at least October now, whereas it was September, now it's October. Wait for the news next month. It'll probably be November.
Well, possibly. It depends on what happens with the variant. But
COVID.
This is not a health show, so we'll just move on.
Yeah. iOS 14.7 bug may prevent iPhones with Touch ID from automatically unlocking the Apple Watch. Too many bugs, Guy. Too many bugs. This is not Bug Watch,
Yeah.
Apple Pay is now available for MIR card holders in Russia.
Yeah, I trust everyone in that transaction.
Well, I would.
Well, I trust the Apple part.
Apple could be forced to follow new digital competition rules or face fines under a UK proposal. We're getting a bit antsy, aren't we, over here? We're really getting a bit antsy on Apple. Apple is looking to establish a large production campus in Los Angeles for Apple TV Plus. I would have thought it'd already been up
2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. UBS has upped Apple price target to $166. So they're optimistic. Apple Car. Apple have been granted a US patent for active suspension system. What?
Yeah. Well, no. You see, what it does is if you get mad at someone, it just throws them right out of the car.
Oh, well, I like that. Oh, yeah. And of course,
them outside of the
and that
car.
Means the weight distribution will have to be adjusted for fairly quickly. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. Apple has a problem. They're too good at making money, Guy. They're too good at making money, Guy. They're too good at making money.
Yeah.
Do you know? Actually, I know where this article was going, really, and they could be, not the downfall of their own success, but it can create problems for yourself moving forward in terms of expectations from the market. That's why they really want to keep buying back some of those shares, so they've got a little bit more.
Can I interject something here?
You can do whatever you like, Guy.
Okay, there was
just don't interrupt me.
Okay, well, that's why I put that out there first. There was a discussion over on In Touch with iOS that kind of struck me as funny. Here in the US, 50% of all new phone activations are iPhones, which tells me that Apple's market share is quickly rising here, at least here in the United States, for smartphones. And while on the face of that seems like good news, The problem with it is, with all of the various lawsuits going on all over the world in regards to Apple being a monopoly, it is not good news, because Apple could make the claim that with 15 to 20% of the market, there's no way that they could be a monopoly. But once you start creeping closer and closer to 50% and above, that argument kind of goes out the window. So they're making plenty of money, which is very, very true. And they would probably be better off if they would kind of stop around 40% at most and not go over that 50% mark, and they'll still make lots of money. But we'll see what happens. But there are so many countries right now that are looking to go after Apple's money that they have to be, they may have to adjust their margins. They may have to do a lot of different things in order not to be seen as, just so money focused.
Yeah.
All right, I'll stop.
A UK man has been arrested for the 2020 hack of Apple's Twitter account. Just a little bit more later, you'll see why. Astronomer, if I could say the word, shows stunning Milky Way photos taken on an iPhone. And I tell you what, the picture that I've seen, it is stunning as well. And the guy says that it actually isn't the best that he thinks it could take. They used it using the camera's Pro RAW mode, but the camera's getting better and better. It really is.
They are.
Just super.
They really are.
Canaccord has raised Apple price target not from 166 but to 175 and reiterates a buy rating. We are not analysts, we are not advisors, we are just reporting what they've said.
We're barely podcasters.
We're barely podcasters.
Barely.
We're barely alive. Apple has rolled out Mac OS Big Sur 11.5. Yes, you don't need to do that though, Guy. They're just there.
I know, they're right there on either side.
What you need is little hydraulic cylinders on them to open the doors, so that would, automatically, just by pressing the button, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't know what we're talking about,
Next
you need
project.
to go over to YouTube and see Guy's image.
My big yellow ears.
Yeah. Apple has said that
squarish.
will you let me finish? Apple
Yes.
says the future of health is on your wrist in a new Apple Watch series ad. I haven't seen the ad, but we keep talking about Apple and health and, so yeah. The Twitter beta for iOS has gained a sign-in with Apple option. I tell you what, that's becoming more and more prevalent. I've used it a few times. I don't know how many more times I'm going to be using it though, because I do like to know who I'm signing in with, where I'm signing in with, and I'm not sure whether Guy can actually hear me. Nod your head if you can hear me,
It's going
Guy.
in and out.
Oh dear, it's going in and out. Well, I'm going to carry on. I hope.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
I'll carry on, and I hope that we're recording it, and we'll see at the end. If not, I'm recording it local. You'll be all right.
No, it is recording. It's recording. It's just that's not going to my earpods.
It's just not going into your brain, is it? It's not that it's not going through your. Yeah, that's it. More like it. Yeah.
Oh, it's always likely.
Apple is to pull iDOS 2, which is a DOS emulator from the App Store. I'll tell you what, Guy. It's just disgraceful. I mean, these people that want. I'm going to have to delay this slightly while Guy puts on headphones, because I actually want him to react to this. Okay, can you let me know? Nod your head when you can hear me. Right. Yes. Okay. So Apple is pulling the iDOS 2, the DOS emulator, from the App Store, because why wouldn't you let people play with ancient operating systems so that you can play things like Wolfenstein and all those sorts of stupid things?
Terrible old games.
Just ridiculous. Anyway, it's been pulled, so that will upset some people, I'm sure. Apple are not trying hard enough to protect users against surveillance, researchers have said.
Really?
Well, I'll tell you what, go and buy some of those Android phones and some of those others from China and wherever. You'll soon realize what the surveillance.
Well, it's like, instead of just saying you're not doing enough, why don't you say what it is they could be doing? But they don't do that. It's their whole thing is, let's just complain about it. Stupid.
We'll see.
Analysts. Sorry, researchers.
People like complaining. App Store Classic Jetpack Joyride has been launched on Apple Arcade, and I've downloaded it because I used to really enjoy playing Jetpack.
I've never played that. Is it good?
You never played it?
No.
Oh, go! You must. I'll have to make that my pick, or whatever we're calling it now. Yeah, I used to play that a lot, so I've re-downloaded it and see
Have
what
you
it's
tried
like. No, because I've been away.
Oh, that's
been
true.
away.
That's true.
Time, I've got lots of catching up to do. Got lots of sleep to catch up on. A man has sent an AirTag to Tim Cook. And Apple apparently has returned it along with a letter. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Well done.
Whoever you are.
I thought just some people will try anything. Apple explained how the photos people recognition feature is improved in iOS 15. I look forward to that, actually.
Yeah.
I think that their photo recognition is already pretty good, but they've improved it even more. Good egg. Now, I'm going to refer back to an article I talked about earlier, which was a UK man arrested for a 2020 hack of Apple's Twitter account. Tim Cook has met with the Prime Minister of Spain at Apple Park. Can I just tell you where that guy was arrested?
Tell me.
In Spain. Dun, dun, dun!
Oh, crap. Hold on.
Yeah, no, don't. Oh, no. I think, yeah.
I still haven't replaced that.
I think mine is better. And that, folks, is the end of Gaz's snippets. No!
Well, what do you think about all these companies doing these things that puts your privacy at risk, Gaz?
Well, I think that those companies or governing bodies that are putting at risk my ability to be able to choose and secure a reliable environment that I have chosen. So, company or governing body, if you want to play that silly game, along with, I'm sure, a lot of other people will continue to call you nasty, horrible people for putting my security at jeopardy.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
I don't have to say that, Guy. I don't have to say that every week. It's just there, for future reference. That's all. Okay. So everybody,
should I play that sound again?
No.
Okay.
It's okay. Everybody, stand by to put at risk. Stand by, and Guy and Gaz will be right back. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
And welcome everyone back to the MyMac.com podcast. I'm getting that in as quickly as I possibly can for reasons that will not be evident in the further recording of this show. All right, Gaz.
I'm good. I'm good. Is this part deux?
This is part deux. Not one. Not careful.
Not 1.5.
Not 1.5. It's part 2. It's like, it's not part 1 and it's not. No, can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
Can't do that. So what we're going to talk about in this section, Gaz, is what is left for Apple to do with the Macs as far as this transition to the M series processor. And there's
Apple Silicon, do you mean?
Yes, I do. There's actually not that much left when you look at because they've done the 13-inch MacBook Pro, they've done the MacBook Air, and they've done the 24-inch iMac. And so there's just a few things left.
And the Mac Mini.
And the Mac Mini. Oh, almost forgot about the Mac Mini. Shouldn't have, since I have one. So what's left, Gaz? For laptops, the only one that's left really is the larger MacBook Pro, probably the 16-inch. And that's not to say that the 13-inch MacBook Pro is a bad computer. It's just a little underwhelming with lack of usable ports and specs that are so close to the M1 MacBook Air that it's really hardly worth mentioning. There was a whole bunch of articles that came out that was even talking about that. Should you get the MacBook Air or should you get the MacBook Pro M1? And it seemed like, as far as specs go, it didn't really matter. Just get the one that was cheaper. And of course, the fact that you can only connect a single monitor to it
Yeah.
easily. And it's the same with the Air. That also has a lot of people moaning. So soon to come will be the replacement for the Intel version of the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And according to a lot of the reports that I've seen, it's supposed to have more Thunderbolt 4 USB-C C ports. Is it C? USB-C?
Yes.
USB-C-C ports.
Yes, that's correct. Thunderbolt 4 plus USB-C ports. Yes. You've written USC-C. That's what's confusing you.
How hard is that? And likely the next version also of the M series processor, whatever they end up calling it. And I think, Gaz, that we'll probably see this before the end of the year.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So what do you think the initial specs, not even counting the processor, because there's lots of speculation
well,
about
it's been a long time since I looked at the last one. I don't think they'll back down on the amount of ports that the current model has got. So I think they'll match the current model, but they may change some of the USB ports and add some of the USB-C ports, as you said. But I think the screen, they won't change the screen much. The only thing is, will they have what's the bar that they have at the back? What will they call that now?
Oh, the touch bar.
Touch bar. Don't know whether it'll have that or not.
I don't think they'll keep that. I think it has been so, part of the problem with the touch bar is not many people seem to like it, and a lot of developers aren't really
using it. No. So I don't know whether it'll have the touch bar, but I think I don't think it'll have less ports than the current model's got. They might swap out a couple of USB-C ports if they've got any sense. I would hope that it's going to be able to be utilized more than just a separate screen. Yeah, its own screen plus another. I hope that they're going to be able to use more, 2 or 3 screens on it at least.
Well, I mean, a lot of people use these as like desktop replacement machines.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
To have only a single screen is it's not good.
Yeah, and the odd thing is, this is a bit counterintuitive, but I think actually the 16-inch MacBook Pro, you don't worry about having more screens on that as much as you would the smaller versions.
Really?
Because because it's got a larger screen, you're more likely to be able to use that screen more productively and just have another screen which you then link into. Whereas with the smaller screens, if you want to plug into some larger screens, you're more likely to want to do that because of the smaller screen real estate.
Right.
The less real estate you've got on a 13-inch. But it's a bit counterintuitive to do that on a pro version as you go up the scale, as it were.
Well, what about initial RAM? Do you think it'll still be 8 and 16, or do you think that they'll go?
I haven't looked at the models, so I'm not sure what they've got. I would hope that they would jump up some, but they always tend to have a small amount and then a bit of a jump to a larger amount, and then like another standard spec up. So what I'm trying to say is they'd go 16, 64, and then 128. Rather than 32, 64, 128.
Well, part of the problem is these are all now integrated with the chip. So with the M1, you had a choice between 8 and 16. So with whether it's the M1X or the M2 or the
I would expect them to bump that up a little bit. So if they can, of course, if they can.
That's true.
Because there's lots of thought that they, one, that they can't, and two, maybe they feel they don't have to.
Well, the 8 and 16, because when it comes to RAM, what a lot of people didn't seem to understand is that having 8 gigs of RAM when you're working with a system on a chip is not the detriment that it would be with it being separate.
No, but lots of people were saying that they were finding that it was being more stressed.
Sure.
If you were doing a lot of video stuff on it. And if you're going to go with a 16-inch MacBook Pro, I would expect that's more aimed at video orientated types of people. So I would hope that their base is 16, and if they can, push it up to the 32. But I don't know. I haven't heard much in the way of the architecture change or architecture problems that everybody was saying that they couldn't go above 16 first time round. So maybe they might come out with the next generation M chip and say, no, you can go as either as high or you can go, more than we were seemingly able to previously.
Well, most of the stuff that I've seen on the next gen of the M series seems to be along the lines of how many cores it's going to have. I haven't seen a whole lot in the way of memory or, well, I guess that's because you got CPU, GPU, and memory. Those are like the three main components. Of course, you've got, the neural cores and all the rest of that. But for the most part, those are tied in with the CPU. So whether they can go to like a 1632 configuration for memory, I haven't heard a lot about it.
Yeah, no. And the fact that we're not hearing anything, I wonder whether, because you go on to mention the iMac and the Mac Pro, and I just wonder whether there's a bit of a linkage between those machines and the chip that they bring out in terms of its capability with GPU and with RAM moving forward. So those, I think if we get one, we're likely to see the other two as well, possibly.
Well, what about base storage? What are you thinking? Because right now it's what, 128 or 256?
Yeah, well, I would hope that the problem with it's Apple, guy, isn't it? It's Apple.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see a 500 gig base, but will we?
It's hard to say. Or it would be 512, I think.
512. Sorry, 500. Yeah, 512. But will we? No, we won't.
Well, for the price, I would think that for a true pro level machine, the 512 should be the bare minimum.
Agreed.
So much of what we do now is either directly online or stored online that for a lot of that, it's not.
You see, that's what they'll be pushing back on, that they, the problem is there's an awful lot of people out there that don't have good enough connections still to be able to make use of those sorts of capabilities. But Apple doesn't think about those, you see, because everybody's got fantastic internet everywhere in the world.
Of course, if they have money. Those are the people that we want, Lovey, not the hoi polloi. All right. The other machine that we're still kind of waiting on is the 27 or 32 inch iMac. There hasn't, a lot of speculation is going to be 32 inches. It's kind of hard to say. But with the few lessons likely learned after the release of the 24 inch Mac, it should probably, whatever size it is, whether it's 27 or 32 or somewhere in between, it should probably have bare minimum 4 Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports at the bare minimum. Possibly that was intended all along to go along with the built-in gigabit Ethernet port in the power supply, which I still think was so cool. But they'll probably never admit it either way. Most analysts have the next iMac or the bigger iMac pegged it at 32 inches.
Yeah.
And it will probably be at least the same kind of 5K Retina display as the previous large iMac. I can't see them going back on.
No, I can't see it going back, and I can't see him upping it any more than that either.
Yeah. And this too will likely have the next generation M series processor. And I also think that this will be out before the end of the calendar year, not the end of the fiscal year, which is end of September, but the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is starting this month and next month, the big push for Apple is always about the phone. This is where they start getting serious about the phone. And the Mac usually takes kind of a back seat to it. But again, because this is a transition period for Apple as far as processors go for the Mac, it's kind of hard to say exactly where that line is going to be between talking about mobile and talking about desktop or laptop machines, especially since most of the mobile stuff seems to be going to the M series chip as well.
Yep.
So and again, like the 16 probably inch MacBook Pro, I think that the least amount of RAM that this next machine will have will be 16 gigs. I think it's going to be 1632.
I have a sneaky feeling that that's where they should be, but I think like the Mac Pro, they'll probably have an 8 gig version.
Maybe, but I wonder, and it's ridiculous to talk about pricing on something like this because it's almost impossible to tell. They got the M1 series Macs ended up being, for base model, I think about $100 less than the ones they were replacing.
Well, it's impossible to talk about pricing, so
don't even think about it.
Okay, all right. Well, then I think base storage will be 512 gigs for this machine.
Again, I think that should be the minimum. Yeah.
Right. Now the last two that are still kind of out there is the Mac Pro and the iMac Pro.
iMac Pro is going to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, the Mac Pro was actually, and we're talking about the 2013 Mac Pro, was never updated after its release in 2013. I think it's probably safe to say that the form factor is dead. The Intel iMac Pro was just recently discontinued. So
sorry. Whoa. When you say the Mac Pro was never updated after 2013,
yeah.
Well, didn't they come out with a cheese grater design again? Are you talking about the?
Oh, you're right.
You're
right. I had forgotten about that. Was in 2019.
Yeah. Because it came out with They came out with the really expensive wheels for it.
You're right, with the $400 wheels.
Yeah.
I guess they figured if you could afford a Mac Pro like that, you can afford $400 wheels. By God.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'd forgotten about that.
So I think definitely that the iMac Pro is definitely dead. I think the obviously the ashtray is dead.
Yes.
But the new Mac Pro, well,
that could still be around.
That I think it will be around, and I think just have a sneaky feeling they might go to town on that.
Yeah, but they're not going to put like an M1 in it.
No. That's what I mean. And I think they could go to town on that.
I don't think that they'll put like the next gen M series processor in it as well. I think something like a new Mac Pro or iMac Pro is going to require something a little.
iMac Pro is
special.
Dead. Don't use the words iMac Pro.
Okay,
dead.
All right. So we won't even talk about that.
It's gone.
And
zip it.
The problem is the Mac Pro is a little tougher to predict since the M, because what they basically did in the past with the Mac Pros is they say, well, we want more cores, so we're just going to take multiple Intel series processors and put them on the same board and put some links between them, and they'll do stuff. Well, the M series processors don't scale like that. You don't get better performance by putting two M series processors on the same board. That's not quite how it seems to work. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that so far these have been kind of system on a chip kind of processes. So you've got a built-in GPU, CPU, and RAM all on the same die, along with everything else that is required for that. So just adding more processors won't have the same effect. So they would need to have, and I've seen some numbers thrown out like a 40 core CPU, and just these ridiculous numbers. And Apple's supplier of processors, because they design them, but they don't actually build them. Talking about Apple, they have somebody else make them for them. And they're using the 5 nanometer process, which is currently, I believe, the most up-to-date one. But there has been some talk about a 3 nanometer process. And at some point, kind of like how Apple just makes everything super thin, instead of worrying so much about a 3 nanometer versus a 5 nanometer process, why not just make the chip a little bit bigger? Add some more pins that would be required for more cores, and keep it as a system on a chip within, a single chip. Because the smaller that you make them, the less space that you have between all of the stuff that's inside of it. And 3 nanometers, even 5 nanometers. Remember, that's like what, 5 nanometers. We're talking down to the atomic level, I think, with these things. So at some point, you're just not going to get the yield that you need for something that is mass produced like this. I mean, we're already under a chip shortage. So why not worry less about a 3 nanometer process and just make the chips a little bit bigger?
That's not how Apple work, though, Guy.
I know,
you know
but
that.
it's still something that they should. I think that, because me and Tim Cook, we're like this. So
yeah,
I'm going to
you are,
suggest that,
because if you think about it, he did eventually listen to you about ARM.
Yeah, well, and it
just
took
when you
until
changed
I changed
your
my
mind.
mind on it,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, well, they're not going to do it. They did it?
Wait, what?
Wait, what? All right, so the last thing I have here is next gen current Macs. So we're talking about MacBook Air, 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini, and the 24-inch iMacs.
Well, the question a lot of people is asking is, will there be a Mac Mini Pro?
I don't quite know what that means. What would
more ports?
Well, that's.
I mean, it's funny because have you seen inside the current Mac Mini? I mean,
Sure.
It's like you could hold a concert in there with 50,000 people.
Right.
It's enormous inside there. Yeah, well, not all of them, but yeah,
some subset of the Beatles.
So yeah, but I mean, there's a bit of talk about that. I think the next gen current Macs next year, earliest, and possibly even late next year, possibly 2023. I
doubt we're going to see updates to the current Macs until the other ones get updated first.
Oh, at least.
But I'm looking forward to this.
So why is this? You're talking about you already putting some money aside just in case.
Well, it's not so much that I'm putting money aside. Apple is putting money aside for me.
Oh, nice.
Because I have the Apple card,
paying you.
And I've got like almost $500 in Apple Cash credit. So now I won't be getting another.
That's Apple Cash credit, which they're holding on to you. They're earning interest on. Is that what you're talking?
Exactly? Yeah. And then I'll go ahead and just give them that money.
Yes,
so that I can buy something else from them.
Yes, right? Yes. So they can put more into their own pocket from interest on. Yeah.
Because that's
I get it. I understand how it works.
Yeah. So it's a discount that I've spent money on, that they're holding for me and earning interest on, that I will give back to them. Okay, is everybody clear on this concept now?
Yeah, is everybody?
Are you getting it?
Okay, good. Yeah. Steve could not have configured this any better. So yeah, I now
so
even
people,
if a bigger iMac comes out, I'm not going to. I'm done with iMacs.
No, I am. I enjoyed it. It was a great screen, but actually, I so much prefer the setup I've got now. So much prefer the setup. So I totally agree with you. So, listeners, what do you think? We'll be letting you know how to contact us soon. Let us know what you think about what's coming. Let us know what you think about what you've already bought, which might be an M1. Are you going to buy an M1? Why are you going to buy an M1? Do you not think the M1s are worth it for at least 5 years until your Intel machine is dead? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm still running a MacBook Air from 2011. Yeah. That's Intel. So, yeah, let us know. Good stuff, Guy. Thank you very much. And you're nodding your head.
I am.
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip. Guy, do you want a quick way to turn Do Not Disturb on while sitting at your Mac?
I do.
whilst you're running Big Sur, and that is without going through Control Center. Well, if you hover your mouse and your mouse cursor, I should say, over the date and time in the top right hand of the menu bar, and now when you press Option and click your mouse, the date and time will slightly fade away. This means that Do Not Disturb is on. If you do it again, the same, the date and time goes back to the normal contrast, and Do Not Disturb is now off. Is that a good tip?
That's a great tip. I like
Nod your
that
head
tip.
then. Nod your head.
Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of
The weird thing is I can't actually hear it. But I know it's playing.
Will you let me finish?
Gaz,
Thank-
you are absolutely right.
There we go. I somehow, I literally, in between the two segments, because if you remember, I was wearing headphones at the end of the first segment.
Mm-hmm.
Got rid of those, put these in, but I was hearing myself, so I made a change in loopback so that I wouldn't hear myself. But apparently that also means that I can't hear Farrago, which I didn't realize until we started the Gaz's tips thing. And it was like, okay, I see it playing. Gaz is moving his head back and forth, and it's recording. So that part of it is good. I just can't hear it. So I was basically pretending. I was lying to our audience. Oh, I'm enjoying Gaz's tips theme song, even though I
can't believe you lied.
It. Well, it was a tiny fib. It was a little white lie.
Guy.
Yeah.
What's been happening this week in terms of feedback?
Oh, well, and this is awkward because we have a call that we got from Marcus that I'm going to play. And thank God I've already heard it because I won't be able to hear it while it plays. So
but I haven't heard it, so I'll let you know what I think.
Okay, here it is.
Hey, I'm just calling to say that we have Ricola in Minnesota as well tonight.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Marcus. We appreciate the fact that you called in and that I couldn't hear it.
Yeah, but you've heard it previously.
So we appreciate the fact that you have done so. And
we
anyone
do.
He
knows we do. He knows we do.
He does. And we love getting audio feedback because it means we don't have to read anything. That's always a good thing. Hello? See, I heard that.
Yes.
So, if you would like to be like Marcus, or actually, no, that's the wrong thing to say. If you would like to help contribute to the continuing train wreck that is the MyMac.com podcast, you can easily do so by going to Patreon, patreon.com/MacParrot. You can go to coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or can't speak. You can pay a pal at paypal.me/MacParrot. Now, Gaz, if people wanted to get a hold of you.
Do you know, I missed it then, and I should have played about that many times.
Yeah,
one more time.
I'll splice those in later.
Okay, thanks.
Sure I will.
If people wanted to get hold of me,
all.
Guy, all they'd have to do is send an email to Gaz, G-A-Z,
Cars.
at mymac.com, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz, G-A-Z,
Cars.
M-A-Z. You can also contact Guy and myself on the Twitters, twitter.com/Guy and Gaz, G-Y-A-N-D, G-A-Z.
Cars.
You can also send an email to feedback@mymac.com. That's F-W-E-D-B-A-C-K.
Hey.
Okay, now I know that
Guy's the one.
because
He's the guy.
absolutely.
No fooling.
No, none at all.
Guy.
Guy.
What?
Guy was paid his 75 grand.
No.
Well,
Do we know
That's
it was a
very
guy?
questionable.
do we
That is
know
not
it was a guy?
We
I
do.
remember Guy.
Yeah.
I like to go with guy.
So do I. Because
Guy says.
what?
Wait, hold on. I screwed up.
Yeah, he says that a
So
lot.
many
So
times
he
this week.
says that a lot. Now, Now,
Disaster.
Pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
They
well,
don't.
I think that's a little unfair because if you want,
An email from God.
how would they do it?
It's so very, very easy to do, guys. All you have to do is go to the email client of your choice and then type in the field where you do so to say where it's going to go, because anywhere else it won't matter. Be guy at mymac.com. Guy at mymac.com. If you would like to contact me via the Twitters, like some idiot did that I had to shut down. I shut him down. That would be Mac Parrot and or Vert Shark. There we go. Over there on the Twitters. You can also do other stuff. What is it? Oh, vertshark.com is the website. God, see, I'm gone for a week. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And Guys Daily Drive. No, Vert Shark is also the YouTube channel that you can go and see all of the videos stuff. If you'd like to hear just the audio bits, then you would go to Apple's podcast catcher or any catcher of your choice.
God, you're
Type
making
in-
this hard work, aren't you?
I
Boy,
know, I'm
oh
doing
boy.
it to myself. I'm doing it to myself.
People haven't turned off. They've fallen asleep.
Oh, Guys Daily Drive. So, wait, hold on.
Oh no,
So-
hang on a minute. Let me see if I can find one for that, because I
Okay.
think I've got a good one for that. So when you just say that again, I
Sure.
think.
Guys Daily Drive.
No, not yet, not yet.
Oh,
Here
not
we
yet.
go.
You ready?
I think, yeah, right.
Okay. So just go and subscribe to Guys Daily Drive. And you can get not just Guys Daily Drive, but you can also get the audio version of the Mac to the Future livecast, as well as
I haven't got one for that. I haven't got
know,
one for that.
an abbreviated version without the after show of the MyMac.com podcast. The only place to get the MyMac podcast with the after show is
Sorry,
to subscribe to it via
that's
MyMac.com.
Mac.
Podcast.
my Mac.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And there's a Skype telephone number that Marcus and a few other people, someone who might just live in North Carolina, that they know what this number is, Gaz. And it is 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501.
Can I ask
Or
a question on that
You
number?
may.
A lot of people are now losing Skype because Microsoft are going over to Teams.
I don't
So
know
it
what's
may
gonna happen to
be
that number.
it may be that we might have to get rid of that number.
Might have to start using a new number that people can ignore.
I think you can give them as many numbers as you like. They'll still ignore it. That's
I'll
fine.
still ignore it. Yeah. You can dial the telephone number that I had as a kid, 305-564-0026. I have no idea who
Or-
has that number now.
No, or 01604 62827. You could ring that. I don't know who will answer.
91. Okay. That's an IT crowd joke. Actually, don't call that number that I just said a minute ago. I don't know who owns that number now. That was the number I had as a kid, and they would probably not appreciate it if you started calling. So please, for the love of God, don't call that number. I shouldn't have even said it. I may have to go back through and blank that number out because I don't want to cause problems for other people, other than the
Too
usual
late.
stuff that it's too late.
Too late.
It is too late. So the number again, the Skype number that may or may not work in the future is 1 or +1 703-436-9501. Or if you want to tell Skype to go take a flying leap at itself, actually, no, if you don't want, wow, so many problems today.
Guy.
Yeah.
Is this a practice run?
Well, you would think it is, but no, it's really
Have
not.
you ever
This is-
done this before?
Once, just once. You can go right to the Skype app and dial 703-436-9501. Finally got through that, Gaz. I don't know why it was so hard. So
I do.
because it's coming from me. I understand. Thank you all so very, very much for downloading and listening, because now that I have this new desk, it's going to sound so much better for reasons that we're not going to go into. We really appreciate the fact that you have downloaded and listened to the MyMac.com podcast. And Gaz, I think that we're good enough. Yeah. With this new desk.
Yes.
And I think that you're smart enough. Me, not so much, because I spent a lot of money on a new desk. And that Wilf gone it. Woof, woof, wilf, wilf, woof. People like us.
Sharp, Idilian, Bull, Mukadari, Sis Barada, Rentilanda, Maidama Hasgui, Neti Jalile, Den Gilmar, Ligit, Munikin, Gyol, Blin, Uranaya, Himis. Guy,
Yes.
there was a ship carrying blue paint. And there was another ship carrying red paint. These two ships, Guy, they crashed into each other. And do you know what?
What?
Both crews were marooned.
So bad.
End.
So very bad.
End.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and I go home.